All right, so let's get started. I hope everybody does not have a problem connecting to the live stream. So one thing I like to point out, make sure you always have some water, and don't get stressed out about trying to drink 6 or 8 glasses of water a day. Just really drink water when you get thirsty, and then over time, if you want to increase the amount of water you drink throughout the day, but just don't get wrapped up in all the hype about needing to drink 6 or 8 glasses a day or whatever. You have to realize everybody has a different body type. Some people are smaller, some people are larger. So, just drink water when you get thirsty. And, or again, listen to your doctor, what your doctor says. All right, so first thing, you can be standing or you can be seated to begin. So we'll just start by opening and closing the hands. So here, relax the arms, and then just bend the elbows, and just open and close the hands. And this will give me a few minutes to just talk a little bit about Tai Chi. So if you're new to my classes, or if you're new to this live stream, I really appreciate you joining me. If you joined me on the previous live stream, well, welcome back. And I hope that this class is just as rewarding as the last class. From here, we're going to just move the arms so the wrist moves. We want a nice flowing movement, nice relaxing movement. So what I'd like to point out is this Tai Chi class is really for you. It's for your benefit, for your health. So at this point, it's really important to just unplug. All right, if you've got a cell phone nearby, either put it on vibrate or actually put it in the other room. Because this time, it's important to yourself. You really deserve to have this moment to yourself and not be distracted by email or the phone going off because of Facebook or whatever. So just put that out of arm's way. The other thing is Tai Chi is typically practiced wearing sneakers or some kind of solid footwear rather than bare feet. If you're bare feet right now, you're at your home, don't worry about it. But typically when we're practicing, we have some good solid footwear and just comfortable clothes. You don't need a Tai Chi uniform. I will say something about that. Tai Chi uniform, if buying a Tai Chi uniform and wearing it is going to make you practice, then by all means, buy a Tai Chi uniform. But the Tai Chi uniform by itself is not a magical costume that suddenly you're able to practice Tai Chi without any flaws. Just wanted to point that out. Because you see, this is how I dress for Tai Chi class. And you'll notice when you start looking on different YouTube videos, some people will wear the Tai Chi uniform and others won't. So this is really a personal choice. It's up to you. All right, from here, I'm just going to bend the elbows up and down. So as you can see, we can do these movements sitting in a chair. But we will get into standing in just a minute or two. So right now, I just want to warm up the body, warm up some of the joints in the body. All right, so from here, I'm going to stand. And from here, just relaxing, taking about a hip's width distance on the legs, having a slight bend in the legs, in the knees, and always keeping a straight back. In Tai Chi practice, you never want to be leaning forward or leaning too far back. You always want to have a good posture, a nice strong posture. And by bending the knees a little bit, that's going to take pressure off the lower back. So from here, I'm just going to relax my hands and just rotate at the waist, making circular movements, going in one direction, making circular movements, sort of like back in the day when we had hula hoops, right? Trying to control the hula hoop. So we're just moving the waist and doing the best that we can to keep the top of the head still, keeping the head from moving too much with the body, just trying to isolate the waist itself, circular movements. And then we can stop, and then we can go the other direction. All right, now from here, if you want to use the chair or not, placing the feet a little bit closer together, just bend up and down on the knees. All right, just squatting down, standing up, just going up and down on the knees. So we're working those thigh muscles a little bit, but really we're just moving the knees is really the goal here. All right, so we're talking about balance today. Now this class that I'm teaching today, there's even going to be a little bit more advanced tips for people that have been practicing for a while and they sort of forgot some of the basics. Or there are some things that I've just discovered over the years that have to do with balance. And I'll be sharing that today. They're basically tips, sort of ideas that will help the balance of either Tai Chi practice or just in general. So one of the ideas was actually brought to my attention by a student is in the wintertime, when we're walking on ice and we don't want to slip, what do? It's an intuitive reaction, right? We go low, right? Our body sinks down and we move real slow over the ice so we don't slip. We typically don't stand tall and just hoping we don't slip. There's something that we're just born with. We know we need to bring ourselves closer. We need to sink, or in Tai Chi, they call it being rooted. We need to be rooted. So we tend to lower our center of gravity as we move along the ice. So in a sense, this is some of these ideas. We're going to be doing that. So one of the things that has occurred to me is in Tai Chi, they have something called push hands, which is something that is typically taught later on. It's taught with two people working together. And in push hands, or even just in general everyday life, if you start to notice that, I'll give you this angle here, if you start to notice that your balance is moving forward to the tips of your toes, what you need to do is you need to bend your knees and imagine putting your mind into the heels of your feet. So what's happening is, so we're leaning forward. For whatever reason, we're starting to feel like we're falling. We're going on the tips of our toes. So we bend the knees and we sink. Just like when we're walking on the ice, how we lower our gravity. So when we start to go forward on the tips of our toes, drop your center of gravity, bending the knees, keeping the back straight, and letting the weight go to the heels rather than the toes. So anytime you feel that going forward, sink everything into the heels. Just drop your weight by bending the knees. So that's just a little tip, that when you're practicing Tai Chi and we're actually moving, during the moments when we're moving, we might get distracted, either by our thoughts, or if we're out in a park, we might get distracted by things outside. So if we're moving, or even the ground, if we're outside, the ground it might be bumpy, it might not be level, and our balance is not as good. So as we're moving, if we feel like we're becoming unbalanced, then all we need to do is basically stop and sink our weight, the center of gravity in between the legs, keeping the back straight, sinking our weight down into the earth to keep our balance. And there are moments where, and this even applies to balancing on one leg. If you're balancing on one leg for a certain posture, and we're going to get into that really soon, if you're balancing on one leg, and again, you start to feel like your balance is not quite there, you're starting to lose the balance, even on one leg, you can bend that leg that's on the floor or the ground. You can bend that leg, keeping the back straight, sinking your rooting, sinking your energy into the heel of that foot that's on the ground. Just let everything go into that by bending the leg, bending the knee, and sinking. And you'll notice that you've recovered your balance. And this will happen over time. You need to have that instinct so it happens immediately. You don't have to think about it. It becomes instinctual. Just like when we're walking on that ice, it's really something inside of us. We just know we have to do that so we don't slip. All right, so let's get into some balancing. One thing that we can do is strengthen the legs. To have balance, it's not a bad idea to have strong legs. So one thing that we can do is take a hips width distance with our toes pointing forward and also having a slight bend in the knees. Once again, keeping the back nice and straight. The back is nice and straight, a slight bend in the knees, and the toes are pointing forward. I'm placing my weight more towards the heels rather than on the toes. So my weight is a little bit more towards the heels. And what I can do is I can maintain this posture. Now, there are different things we can do here. We can place one hand just below the navel, place the other hand on top, and we can just sink our weight into the heels. And we can hold this posture. So it may not seem like much, but we have a slight bend in the knees. By doing that, we're putting pressure on the thigh muscles. And as you can imagine, if I bend the knees a little bit more, I'm placing more pressure, I'm placing more resistance on those upper thigh and muscles. And of course, the lower that I go, keeping my back straight the whole time, you'll start to feel that, oh yes, my legs are definitely starting to work here. I can feel them. So depending on many things, your health, your age, you want to start small. Have a slight bend in the knees. Again, keeping a nice tall back, a nice straight back. You can place one hand just below the navel. In Tai Chi, we call this the Dan Chen. The Dan Chen is the center. You might want to think of it as the center of this energy in the body. It gets stored right below the navel. And so here we can place one hand just below the navel, place one hand on top, and just sink our weight into the heels. A little bit of a bend in the knees, the back straight. And as I say, the first time, don't bend your knees too much. If this is your first time, just have a slight bend in the knees. In other words, for some people, that may be enough. And they'll start to feel already that their legs are starting to fire. They're starting to heat up. But if you're a little bit healthier, or if you're already somebody that does physical fitness, then you can go a little bit lower with the knees, keeping the back nice and straight. And just stay in this posture. Like I say, stay in this posture. Work your way up to a minute. And so what do you do when you're in this posture? What do you think about? You don't think about anything. Having your hands here, just breathe naturally. Have a natural breathing pattern, just breathing in and out naturally. Don't hold the breath, just breathe naturally, in and out. Don't even take a deep breath, just a natural way that you breathe. Hold this posture, and then if you want, you can even take your eyes and downcast, look at the floor a couple of feet away from you. Again, keeping the head straight, so when you look down, don't tilt your head. Keep your head straight and just look down at the floor and just hold this posture, again, for those 30 seconds, working your way up to a minute, and just let your mind wander. Let your thoughts come and go. Let the noises around you come and go. And just keep your gaze towards the floor, breathing naturally. So this is a practice in and of itself. This comes from a practice called Wu Chi. There are different ways of practicing Wu Chi. This right here, we can start with this position here. So this is going to strengthen the upper legs to help with the balance. From here, let's get into some balancing movements. So we've got the chair. So I'm standing next to the chair, and whichever hand is next to the chair, place the hand on top. Now, what I'm going to do here is we're going to raise one leg. So I'm going to use the chair for support. So the leg and the hand that's near the chair is going to be our base, our support system. So the leg and the hand that's next to the chair is our structure, our base. Now we're going to take the other leg that's opposite the chair, and we're just going to raise up on the toe, and then we're going to raise the leg. So raise the leg only as high as you feel comfortable. You don't want to struggle. The other thing you want to avoid is when the leg starts to come up, you don't want the body to lean forward because you're trying to pull the leg higher than you're able to do at this point in your life. So just raise the leg to the point where you can't raise it anymore, and avoid doing this to pull the leg up. So we're just raising the leg, keeping the back nice and straight. And I'm using the chair, and I'm using the other leg for support. So first I come up on my toe, and I raise the leg, keeping my toe facing the floor. So I keep my toe dropped. I keep the toe facing the floor. And then I can lower the leg, placing the toe on the floor, and then both feet are flat on the floor. And then if you want, you can bend the knees a little bit. If you feel like the leg that was supporting you is starting to heat up, starting to fire, you can just sort of shake that leg out. And then we can do this again, balancing. Again, you can have a tabletop. And then we first come up on the toe. We raise the leg. And then we lower the leg, first touching the toe on the floor, and then both feet are flat on the floor. So I'll give you this angle here. So imagining that I'm balancing on the chair, I'm going to come up on my toe, and then I'm just going to raise my leg, bending the knee, and then I lower my leg, first on the toe, and then both feet are flat on the floor. So I have equal weight on both legs. And again, if you need to shake out that other leg because it's been supporting you, feel free to do that. So we'll do that one more time. Again, the feet are together. The the foot that's opposite the chair, first we come up on the toe, and then we bend the leg to raise the leg, keeping that toe angled down, and then we lower the leg, first placing the toe on the floor, and then both feet are flat on the floor. So now let's switch to the other side. So in this case, the chair is going to be on this side here, but I also want to show you how you can use a wall for this. So in this case, imagine that the chair is on this side, because we're going to change legs now. But you can use a wall. So here, I've got my hand against the wall to give me support, just like the chair. And now the opposite leg, we're going to raise the opposite leg. So here again, I'm going to lean a little bit against the wall for support. And then I'm going to come up on the toe. Then I'm going to raise the leg, keeping that toe dropped to the floor. And then I lower the leg, first on the toe, and then both feet flat on the floor. And then again, if you want to shake out that other leg, you can do that. All right, you can get closer to the wall, whatever feels comfortable. If you want to be further out, as your balance increases, then you can just have one or two fingers on the wall. And eventually, you don't even have to touch the wall. Your hand can be near the wall, and if you start to lose your balance, then the wall is right there to give you support. So just with a finger or two, you can come up on that other foot, first on the toe, raise the leg, lower the leg, first on the toe, and then both feet flat on the floor. So let's do that one more time. First, I'm coming up on the toe, raising the leg, bringing the leg down, first on the toe, and then both feet flat on the floor. So if we start with the feet about hips width apart, we're going to take this to the next level. If we start with both feet about hips width apart, the toe is pointing forward, what we can do is we can lean our body to one side and come up on the toe of the other foot. So here, I'm leaning to my left, and I'm coming up on my right toe. And then I can raise the leg, and then I can lower the leg, first on the toe, and then I let my balance go back to center, so both feet are flat on the floor. Then we can do the other side. So here, I'm going to lean my body to the right. I'm going to come up on my left toe, raise the leg, holding my balance, lower the leg, first on the toe, and then both feet are flat on the ground. Another thing we can do is we can bring the feet together, and this comes from a posture called open Tai Chi. With our feet together and the toes pointing forward, what we can now do is we can sink our weight into the heels. So we sink, and now we can come up on the right toe, and then we can step out to the right on the toe, and then move the body to the center, so both feet are flat on the floor. And then what we can do is we can reverse that. So now I lean my body to the left, I come up on the toe, I raise the leg, and I can bring the leg inside, first on the toe, and then both feet are flat on the floor. Then we can go to the other leg. So here, my weight becomes shifted to my right leg. I lift up my left leg, and then I step out, first on the toe, and then my body moves to center. Then we reverse that process. So I shift my weight to the right. I lift up the left leg. I bring it in. First touch the toe, and then both feet are flat on the floor. So here, we can do this very slowly. By going slow, you're going to increase your balance, you're going to increase the leg strength. All these things that add up to having good balance. So we can go back and forth, going slowly, as slow as your body is going to allow, going back and forth. So you can do this throughout the day, just to increase that balance. If you need to step quicker, that's fine. If you go slower, that's fine. You can alternate back and forth, stepping out with the right leg, centering, and then stepping in with the left leg. And then moving to the other side. First stepping out with the left leg, centering the body, and then bringing in that right leg. All right, it seems like a very simple thing, but Tai Chi, by moving slowly with Tai Chi, the body becomes strong, the balance improves, the balance improves, the legs become stronger. So we have that motion going side to side. So let's take this up a little bit more. We can add a little bit more to it. So again, all of these movements, you can have something nearby as support. From here, I'm going to stand in a comfortable stance, maybe a little bit less than hips width apart. And I'm going to pick one leg. So in this case, let's go with the left leg. I'm going to shift all of my weight to the right leg. And then I'm going to rise the left leg, but at the same time, as my right leg, or I should say, as my left leg starts to rise, the same arm is going to rise up by rotating at the shoulder and then bending the elbow. So you'll see what this looks like. As my leg comes up, the same side, the arm comes up with it. And then I can lower, first on the toe, and then both feet are flat on the floor. So I give you this angle here. So the arm is just rotating, first is rotating at the shoulder, but then I bend the elbow. And what I want is, this is a little detail, what I want is, I want my hand to be below my eyesight. So I don't want to cover my vision. I want my hand to be below my eyesight. In this case, we're using the left hand, so you want the palm facing to the right. So from this angle here, the same arm and the same leg are going to rise up. I'm going to hold my posture, and then I'm going to lower back to the floor. All right, so I'm shifting my weight, and then I come up on the left leg and the right and the left arm, and then I lower to the floor, first on the toe, and then both feet are flat. All right, so now we can go to the other side. So first I'm shifting all my weight to my left leg. I'm coming up on the right toe. I raise the right side of the body. The hand comes up. I can hold my balance. I can lower my balance. I can lower my leg till the toe touches the floor, and then both feet are flat. So here, again, you can use that chair to balance, to bring the other side of the body. Bring the other side of the body up and then down. And then as your balance increases, then you can just have your hand near the chair in case you need it. Keep it near the chair. Bring the body up and then lower it. So one thing I want to point out about balance, I was saying that when we cross some ice in the winter, we tend to lower our gravity so we don't slip. Well, here's another tip for people that are maybe a little bit more advanced that I've noticed about balance. So in the case where I'm balancing on one leg, if I start to notice my balance, I'm starting to lose my balance, there's a couple things I can do. I already talked about one of just bending my supporting leg and sinking into the heel, keeping my back straight. That's going to help my balance. The other thing is, if my leg is raised and my leg goes to the outside of my body, rather than being tucked in down that center line of the body, if my leg veers off, I reduce my balance, or I should say, it's more difficult to keep that balance. So if you notice, if you're just learning how to do balancing movements in Tai Chi, when you raise your leg, you start to notice your balance being shifted, pull this leg into the center line. And again, keep the body straight, because the moment we start to tilt our body to one side, the balance becomes that much more challenging. So the tips are, when we start to lose that balance on one leg, we bend the leg, the supporting leg, keeping the body straight. These are all details, I understand, and they'll make sense over time. But they're things that you can just have in the back of your mind, and over time, they'll be a part of your everyday life. So balancing on one leg, we start to lose the balance. We bend the supporting knee, keep the back straight, and also take the hips and push the hips this way, rather than having your butt stick out this direction. If you tuck everything and push it this direction in front of you, keeping everything nice and straight and bending that leg, and then having the intention, the mindset of sinking into the heel, that will help your balance in these standing postures on one foot. Or again, if you start to notice that your leg is moving to the outside as you're coming up, or you're doing something like this, where the leg is angled out and you're starting to lose your balance, then just pull everything in to that center line. Once again, sinking into the ground or the floor. All those little tips is going to help the advanced student hold their balance better. So we have stepping side to side, going as slow as you feel comfortable. First coming up on the toe, and then raising the leg, and then placing the toe down, and then both feet are flat. And then repeating the other side. First coming up on the toe, raising the leg, placing the toe down first, and then both feet are flat. And then we can also, by standing tall, we can raise one leg, doing that same process of first coming up on the toe, but now the balance becomes a little bit harder because we're using our arm. We're raising the arm. Because what happens is your mental focus is distracted between the leg and the arm, so it becomes more difficult. But the mechanics are the same with the leg. We just raise the other arm. And keep the other hand by the side. Keep it on your waist. Keep it tucked into the body. And just raise one side of the body, and then we can lower. In that, we can change to the other side, keeping this hand close to the body, as the other side rises up, and then lowers down. So this again, we can go back and forth, right? You can do one leg and just go back and forth. And once again, avoid, when you pick up the leg, avoid leaning the body to pick up that leg. You want to use your hip muscles, you want to use your thighs to pull that leg up into the body. So this will take time. It'll take time to get that flexibility and that strength of just going from side to side. The other thing I want to point out, when it comes to balance, this is something that's worked for me. If I'm doing a movement where, let's say I'm kicking out with the leg that's in the air, in a sense, I don't even worry about it because I know what this leg has to do. This leg has to kick out into the air. So my mind is actually in the leg that's on the floor, the leg that's rooted on the floor, my support system. That's where my mind is. It's on the leg that's balancing. And so when I kick out, my mind is on the supporting leg rather than this leg here. And I've noticed that seems to help my practice and my balance. If I focus my mind, on the leg that's supporting me, I have better balance. So this is something that really for the advanced students and the beginners, again, you can just have that in the back of your mind. And then later, at some point, you'll be able to add this to your practice. So going right back to the beginning, we can start by strengthening the legs, by bending the knees a little bit, keeping the back nice and straight, placing one hand over the other below the Dan Chen, or I should say on the Dan Chen, and just sinking into the heels, looking down towards the floor, keeping the head straight, keeping the back straight, and breathe naturally. Breathe naturally, let thoughts come and go. Don't worry about anything, just breathe naturally, starting with about 30 seconds. And then over time, increase that to a minute, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. And then over time, when you become stronger, you can lower that posture, bending the knees a little bit more. Once again, keeping the back straight. So even if you go very, very low, you want to avoid doing this. You want to keep the back straight regardless how low you end up sitting. Keep that back nice and straight. But once again, start with a small bend in the knees and work your way up. 30 seconds to a minute. Okay? So this is really it for today's class. A couple of simple things. It will increase your balance if you do them. And that's really the key. You have to do them maybe a couple times a week, whenever you have time. If you want to do it a couple times throughout the day, that's fine too. It really comes down to whenever you have the time. Everybody has a schedule. Everybody has other things that they have to take care of in life. But the more of this you can incorporate into your life, you'll start to notice not just your balance improve, but your health will start to improve. Your mindset will change. You'll become happier because the mind's going to change. You'll become healthier. So that's it for today. I hope this class works for you. Thank you again for joining me. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Have a good day.